You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens the door on men's mental health. And for tonight's guest, we have Phil Henderson. Phil, welcome to The Hurt Locker.
Thank you very much for having me, Yinka. Good to be here.
Because we haven't spoken before and all that, I'm just hearing by your dulcet tones. Are you Northeast lad?
I am Newcastle originally. Well, living in Newcastle now as well. But yeah, I've lived around a few places. But yeah, Newcastle.
Okay. Welcome to The Hurt Locker.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you. I'm all right. I've got that Friday feeling, even though it's not Friday yet. So that's pretty positive.
I know exactly what you mean. I know I have to say to somebody today, what day is it? Is it Thursday? Is it Friday? Yeah. So for the benefit of people who don't know Phil Henderson, Phil, who are you? What do you do?
I'm a stand-up comic. So I've been doing that at various different levels for about 5-6 years now. And do a little bit of teaching as well. That was kind of what I was doing mainly before I started comedy, and that's it's a little bit of a side quest that's still going on till I hit the big time.
Okay.
Comedy's my focus.
Do you teach?
I teach English mainly, or I kind of started out as an English teacher and then moved into teaching English as a second language, and then I kind of carried on teaching international students, but maybe students that are just coming to the UK and maybe not quite ready for university yet. So a lot of the stuff that I teach or that I was teaching was more skills based than anything, and actually kind of linking to this podcast. A lot of it was not even academic skills. It was looking after your mental health. It was making sure you're getting the right food in there, making sure you're looking after yourself. Time management. I mean, I was teaching it all. I wasn't doing any of it myself, but I was telling others to do it.
I know that one a lot. Don't worry about that. I know that one a lot. I mean, there's a number of ways we can go with this podcast today and all that, but what brought you to The Hurt Locker today? Why did you want to come on it?
But I was thinking about this a little while back, and I had a look back through when I saw it come up on my calendar, I had a look back through a message, and I was thinking, no, because originally I was meant to be on it a little while back, and I couldn't do it for whatever reason. And I scrolled back, and do you know when it was originally Tim reached out? It was over 2 years ago. Tim reached out, and at the time, I was it was in August 2023, and I was up at the Edinburgh Fringe. I was very busy. My partner would have been about 6 months pregnant at the time. And we were just kind of wrapping up everything with the Fringe and then wrapping up everything in London and then moving back to the Northeast. And I thought, I'm far too busy to commit to anything at the moment. So I was kind of just pushing all the invites for things back. And then you fast forward a few months and you think, maybe I've got time for it now. And you're so busy with parenthood. And there was another part of me as well that was thinking, especially when I listen to a lot of mental health podcasts, it's almost people looking back at things that they've struggled with and then saying, this is kind of what I did to fix it. And this is kind of how I'm doing better now. And I think at the time, because I was finding parenting so difficult, I thought, I don't want to come on a mental health podcast when I haven't got my shit together. Do you know what I mean? You start asking me questions about how I'm coping with stuff, and I'm like, I'm not coping with it at all. I
suppose that's a good thing though as well. Yeah, to let people know that they're not alone.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think you're right. I think everyone, no matter how good you are at kind of handling these things, everyone's, you have good days and bad days, or good weeks and bad weeks, or good years and bad years. And I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I don't think you suddenly kind of learn how to look after yourself and then that's it. Everything's great from that point on. I think there's always going to be things cropping up.
Absolutely. A few things have popped up for me in terms of questions and that, and I'm just thinking, with parents or your first child, I'm assuming.
Yeah, almost 2 now, little boy.
Cool. How's that journey been for you? What have you discovered about yourself? What's changed about you? And in fact, how different are you as a parent compared to your parents?
Oh, that's a lot there, isn't there? I mean, and it does make you think about all these things, when you get the time to. I think I'll try and see if I can answer all those in one go. I think I've learned about maybe some of the things that I could have done with a little bit more when I was growing up, and then making sure that those are the things that I maybe focus on a little bit more with my son. And that's not a slight on my parents at all. It's just
not at all. It's just the reality.
It's just the reality of how things change and how society changes and how the world changes. And I know I'm going to get it wrong because I'm raising my son with with the knowledge of a 2025 world, and when he grows up, it's not going to be 2025, and maybe I've focused on the wrong things and whatever. But yeah, I think originally I kind of thought, I want to make sure that my son's clever and funny and kind, and those are the important things. And actually, I just kind of think that a lot of those things will happen naturally anyway. And the things I maybe should focus on are the stuff that I'm not great at, which might be things like talking about feelings, being more aware of my own emotions.
Come on.
But yeah, I mean, don't want to get too cliche. The classic man stuff, I mean, I'm sure my son will be better at those kind of things than I am. I'm sure I'm better at those kind of things than my dad. I'm sure my dad was better at those kind of things than his dad. So hopefully we're just kind of heading in the right direction. But yeah, I think that's one thing that I've focused on a lot, or I'm trying to focus on is those things. And I think there's a lot of parenting that's intuitive, and you just go,
yes,
I know how to do this. I know how to maybe comfort them when they're sad, and keep them alive, make sure that they're happy and things. But then there's a lot of it that's actually not very intuitive at all. And I find myself learning things from social media, from other parents, or from my partner quite a lot as well, because she's probably doing a lot more reading on it than me. But just little things like when like if he falls over and hurts himself, and you run over and you go, "Oh, you're okay, oh, you're fine," and then thinking about it, actually, it's not a good thing to run over and kind of say you're fine, because maybe they're not fine. Maybe that's dismissive. Maybe that's teaching them to tell themselves they're fine when they're not, and all these little things that you pick up, and you're like, oh man, I've got to stay on my toes here, because some pretty formative years.
Absolutely. And I think the first 1,000 days of a child's life are so it's the template for the rest of their life. And that you said at the beginning of that response to my questions that perhaps I'll focus on stuff that weren't focused on for me growing up as a child. Can you expand on that a bit? And listen, this is not about criticism here. This is about just openness and honesty. And sharing.
I think I've always had a kind of, I don't know whether it's generational. I don't know if it's to do with being male, or I don't know if it's personality traits, or it's a combination of all of those things. But I've never massively had or maybe more in the last couple of years actually, but maybe not grown up. Never massively had in-depth conversations with my I was going to say with my parents, with anyone really about things that are kind of serious, and I think that's partially because maybe the people that I communicate with aren't they're like me, and they don't either feel comfortable doing it, or they don't have the experience of doing it, or maybe there's a part of it that is they realize that I don't. They realize that they're like, oh, Phil doesn't really like talking about, things on a deeper level. He like prefers to talk about, films and music and sport and whatever, So I'll not ask him those questions. If I ask him a question about family or how he's feeling and he gives me a kind of very short answer, maybe I'll not push or dig any further. And so maybe it's, I think it's a combination of things. I think there's maybe been a little lack of communication, or certainly the deeper communication in my life, and I think part of that is people responding to how I am, and I think part of it is, like I say, generational, personality, gender, definitely. I mean, I don't know. I don't think my friendship group are all having really serious, in-depth conversations about the serious things when I'm not there. I think we're all probably a little bit like me, or certainly have been when we were growing up.
Would you have loved those deeper conversations?
I don't know. It's like,
as difficult as it may feel. And
I think I would.
I'll tell you why I'm asking that question. I've asked you a few questions now, and one of your responses has been a look away gaze, as if to look in towards yourself, to reflect on that. And I get a sense of feeling that as uncomfortable as it may have been, maybe you would have liked to swam those waters a little bit.
Yeah, would I have liked to have? I think I would have benefited from it. Whether I would have enjoyed it or not is another thing. I mean, I do that a lot. I do that looking away a lot when I'm trying to kind of compose my thoughts or get myself together. And I don't know, sometimes I hesitate a little bit, but I've always preferred writing out things like that, which it sounds really healthy. It sounds like I do journaling and stuff, but it's not. It's sending a long email after an argument. Hold on, I wasn't able to come up with all of my ideas at the time, so actually I think this, and it's nobody likes getting those emails, but it's the way that I best kind of. I don't know if it comes from being a little bit of a perfectionist or not being able to kind of organize my thoughts when my emotions are raised up, but I struggle with getting exactly what I want out in those moments. So I think maybe I would be better at it if I'd had more practice. But I definitely, and I shouldn't say this, there are definitely some benefits to having relationships that doesn't have that level of communication in it as well.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the reasons that men in particular, not just men, but men in particular, that maybe don't have those deeper levels of conversation at times. I think we look at, and this is purely anecdotal, I'm obviously not basing this off textbooks or whatever, but I look at kind of female friendship groups, and obviously there's a lot more openness, there's a lot more being there for each other, and communication and understanding, and there's probably a lot more depth there. But at the same time, there's also a lot more work, there's a lot more drama, there's a lot more falling out with each other, and you don't really see that in the male friendship groups. And there's something quite, maybe they're not as, maybe those friendships aren't as deep, but there is something quite nice about knowing this person's never going to burden me with their problems. I'm never going to have to think too deeply about this. I'm probably never going to fall out with them. I could not talk to them for 2 years and would still, so there is some small benefits to that. And I think maybe people think that's puts talking, makes talking about things a little bit off-putting,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you? Do you know what I mean?
It does make sense, but I love the way that you're fishing upstream, as it were, You're fighting against the good fight, as it were. Just going back to childhood. I mean, not childhood, parenthood. What's been your most challenging time, and what's been your most vulnerable time as a parent? As a father, I should say.
Challenging time and most vulnerable time. I think the most vulnerable time kind of connects back to what I was saying before about, realizing the things that you're not so good at, realizing, maybe some of your faults and some of your inadequacies that you knew, that you maybe knew already, but maybe weren't as aware of as you could have been, and thinking, if I'm not careful, I'm going to pass these on to the person I care about most in the world. And it really kind of, nothing forces you to get or to at least try and get your shit together more than that, because if I think of all of the things that there's always going to be things that cause you stress or ill feeling that are outside of your control. But if I think about the things in me that are kind of, I'm a bit passive aggressive sometimes. I'm a bit sarcastic. I'm a bit snappy. I'm a bit disorganized. I'm, a bit defensive. And those are things that are not necessarily like something that would manifest itself in a huge way, but there may be like lots of little things that I say or lots of little things that I do. And, if my son's constantly seeing those, he might end up that way as well. And not like himself or struggle with certain things in the future. So I think that's been the biggest challenge for me, is kind of, not only having to do all of the right things to raise my son in the right way, but actually try and kind of raise myself as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Kind of fix some of the problems there. So that's definitely been a challenge. And I think, I can't underestimate how difficult the kind of the balance of parenthood and any other part of your life is in the early stages as well. Because I've always been hard on myself when I don't feel like I'm doing enough.
Why is that?
I think it's because I maybe from kind of being a teenager to kind of maybe early 20s didn't don't know how to phrase it, didn't reach my full potential or underperformed a little way, kind of when you're at school and you get those predicted grades.
Yes.
My predicted grades were
high
up here. Yeah. My reports were up here, and then my exam results were, still okay. Probably a little above average, but not where I should have been. And I think I kind of maybe carried on that attitude in quite an important part of my life. And then I've from kind of maybe about late 20s, early 30s, felt like I've been playing catch up, which there's probably some truth in it, but it's probably also just me being incredibly hard on myself, particularly when you're starting something like stand up in your 30 or 31 or whatever it was when I started, which doesn't seem particularly late in life, but you know, you might have a 10, 12 year, you know, someone might have like a 10, 12 year head start, more experience than you, and you find that on the circuit. You know, you find people with a hell of a lot of experience and talent, and success. You get chatting to them, and you're like, oh, "How old are you?" "Oh, 24." "Okay, great. That's good. Good for you." You know, and it's that kind of, yeah, that jealousy.
I was going to ask you if there was envy there.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look at the definition of these words. It's not. It's envy or jealousy. Certainly not. No ill feeling towards anyone.
No.
I never see someone succeeding and wish that they didn't. I'm always happy for people, particularly people that I know. But it doesn't stop you wanting that as well. Do you know what I mean? And that could be.
I was going to say, are you constantly then looking over the fence, as it were?
Yeah, a little bit. And I mean, that's not the comedy industry exclusive. That's just all parts of my life. Every time I see someone with, you know, more money or whatever, you know, I think it's common to kind of see things that you think you would enjoy, or you see a lifestyle that you think you would like, or things that would make your life easier, and think, oh, I wish I had that. And I think sometimes it gives you something to aim for, and it's a nice motivation. And then I think other times it's maybe a little bit silly to think that way. Yeah, I guess it depends what it is. And I think I heard someone saying a while back that things that are really, really difficult to acquire aren't always the things that have the most value to you, but you don't know that until afterwards. Yeah. And I know that's true. I know that rich and successful people, get depressed, commit suicide. I know that kind of the things that you look for aren't going to solve all the problems, but you always think, oh, that'll make my life a little bit easier.
I know. The quote is Jay-Z: "More money, more problems."
Yeah. No, it is true. You know. But what about if it's just a little bit more money, Chase? Just a tiny. Can I just have a little bit more?
Here's the question: when is it enough?
I know. I was going to say, I just want enough to.
Yes.
Have that.
What's
but
enough?
I'm sure when I was there, I would say, I just want a little bit more so that I can go on my third skiing holiday this year. Yeah.
What was growing up like for you?
It was it was good. It was nice. I was going to say it was normal, but I mean, what's normal? You don't really know what's normal and what's not normal, or what's common, until you get out of childhood and move around and meet other people from other walks of life and things. But yeah, I was happy, clever, quite an arty family to a degree. I got older sister, younger brother.
He's close.
We were. Yes and no. I mean, yes, we are. We get on. We can talk to each other about anything. Make each other laugh. It's always nice when we get together. Probably don't talk to each other quite as much as a lot of siblings do, but that's just because I don't talk to anyone enough, really. I've always got a backlog of messages and things that I'm meant to be getting back to. But that's on me probably more than anyone else.
I get a sense that you're a very private person.
I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I think occasionally I get that. I think I get overwhelmed easily, and I think I get overwhelmed easily by things that I don't need to get overwhelmed by. And I think I maybe prioritize the wrong things, and I'll find that I could get a message from a friend on a Tuesday, and maybe my hands are full at the time. I think I can't reply to that now. And then there's something about having not replied to it in that moment that makes me think the reply needs to be a bit more now, because I've doing it a couple of days later. There needs to be, sorry, I haven't got back to you because this, and I don't know. It feels like it becomes a bigger task in the back of my mind, and I can get to a week later, or a few days later, and I've done other things. I've had time. I've watched TV. I've done a couple of gigs. I've sat down and had a meal. I could have replied to that message. But anything that involves that interaction with somewhere else, where you've probably seen memes of it before, where like, oh God, I've replied to a message and now they've replied to me. And now I've got another message to reply to, and like, oh, what am I creating for myself here? Like it's just, which is ironic because I like it's the way that I prefer to communicate this over message. But I'm just not very good at it.
Going back to your siblings, when was the last time you told them that you loved them?
I don't know. Is the honest answer to that question. I've definitely said it to my parents in the last few months. So no idea for my siblings. Genuinely no idea.
How did it feel, me asking you the question?
It made me feel maybe a little bit guilty, but then I got incredibly analytical very quickly as a way of making myself feel better. And I thought, well, hold on, when was the last time they said it to me?
That defensive mode kicking in.
Yeah. Well, you never say you love me. No, that is something I need to work on. And again, maybe that is because we're all similar and we just don't say those kind of things very often, or maybe it's because they don't say them to me because they know that it'd make me feel a little bit uncomfortable, or I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't make me feel uncomfortable. So if you're listening, guys, send me a message saying that you love me.
And 3 days later, you'll say, I love you.
Yeah. And I'll get back to you in 3 to 5 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll say it now. I love you guys.
When was the last time your parents said they loved you?
Oh, not in response to me saying it.
Yes.
I've said it more recently. They need to step their game up. Actually, I don't know. Maybe that's not true. We maybe don't say it. Maybe all of us don't say it as much as we could do.
Do you think that's a Northeast thing about not showing your emotions, your affections?
I don't know. I think people in the Northeast are quite kind of do show a lot of affection, but maybe not by saying I love you or I care for you. Maybe by making someone a meal or giving someone a hug or something. Kind of where it's said but not said. I think maybe people are more comfortable with saying it in a way where they don't have to say it. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. What do you think? What's it like in you Liverpool based, are you?
In Liverpool, yeah. I think I'm a bit of a hugger anyway, Doesn't matter if it's male or female, if I'm close to somebody, then I will hug them. And I suppose some people, my mates when I was younger, used to call me Yinka the Thinker. because I'd always be asking these questions all the time, and people are like,
Yeah.
"Fuck off, lad! I don't want to know about this. Come on, you know." And I think that's always been me.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to be as authentic about what's important for me and the world around me and the people who matter to me.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I totally get that. I think I try to be authentic as well, but maybe in a, I don't know, maybe this isn't authenticity, but not necessarily saying exactly what I think or what I feel, but finding other ways to express it. Is that
Okay.
authenticity? I don't know.
That can be. It can be through. I mean, it can be. I'm going to use the phrase a love language.
Mhm.
Now, some people might do. Some people might show affection or their caring through touch. Others
Yeah.
may be through acts of service, etc. Cook a meal, something like that. You know.
Yeah, I did. I went to a therapist a little while back, and she was talking about love languages, and I asked if there was one that's just been left alone. Is that a love language?
That's
That one?
that sounds like Castaway or something.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah. I think I think I think because I think I've got some self-esteem issues, like all comedians, and I think my love language is not necessarily is it words of affirmation or words of,
Affirmations, yes,
yeah.
yes.
I don't need people that necessarily compliment me or say nice things about me, but if someone says something negative about me, or even if I think that they're thinking something negative, that really that's what gets me down. So I don't necessarily need that positive, but I can't handle that negative.
On that note, what brought you to therapy then initially, if you don't mind
Uh,
sharing?
I've been a couple of times over the years for a couple of different things. It's not always one thing. I think
No.
maybe I think struggling with. I was going to say self-esteem, because I think self-esteem is at the root of a lot of things that I've had over the years. But I don't think I've necessarily ever gone and said to a therapist, "Hey, I've got some problems with my self-esteem." I think I've said, I've had problems with productivity and worrying about success, and I get angry about when things aren't fair. Um, I have poor coping methods for various things, and I get, when I feel like I'm not doing this, I get annoyed, or I'll drink too much or something. And sometimes that's been tied to other things, like
Yes.
I got ADHD diagnosis a couple of years back, like everyone did. But that's certainly using some medication and also various other techniques has helped alleviate some of the kind of stress that was connected to productivity, certainly. But the rest of it, I think, is all tied to self-esteem, really. So
Okay.
all
Okay.
tied to that idea of self-worth.
Thank you for sharing that. Part and parcel of some of the work that I do, not only as a therapist but as a trainer, I specialize in suicide, and I've done a lot of work in the Northeast, particularly in the university and with the various authorities there, whether it be fire service, police, etc. And up until a few years ago, the Northeast, in terms of per 100,000, had the highest stats for suicide in the
Really,
entire country. And I was just wondering, have you been touched by suicide yourself?
I
In terms
have.
of,
Yeah, I know. I've had two friends commit suicide. one around about 10 years ago, and one just a little over a year ago.
I'm sorry for your losses.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I mean, both times I was going to try and temper it by saying, they weren't, my closest or my best friends or whatever, but as my kind of friendship goes, there isn't a huge amount of people that I'm kind of hugely close to, and I would say on both occasions that I would have probably named them in my top 5 or top 10 friends or
That's significant.
It is, yeah, but I guess when you kind of see people so infrequently, there's maybe only 1 or 2 or 3 people that you see, and then people here who are in that 4 or 5 spot, you're only seeing them a couple of times a year, and I think obviously it would be far, far worse if it was your absolute closest friend or your family member or something like that. But there's also a little bit of something that kind of hit me on both of those occasions where I kind of think, I wish I'd seen them. I wish I'd checked in with them more. I wish I'd seen them a little bit more, because I would say on both occasions I'd lost a little. I had lost touch with them a little bit. The first time I was living outside of the UK and they were in the UK, so you don't stay in touch as much. And then this time it was the other way around. I was living here and they'd moved overseas, so I hadn't seen them in about a year. But yeah, it's a crazy thing, and I don't, I'm not sure if I've got anything particularly interesting or profound to say about it. But there's a horrible feeling that I haven't had in a long time, where it's just there's something so sad about it, obviously, but there's something so sad and scary about the fact that it's final, that it's the finality of it that kind of haunts you, because horrible things can happen, and life goes on. They've experienced this horrible thing. It's going to be terrible for them. I feel so sad. I can't believe we're all having to deal with this situation, these emotions. But there will be light at the end of the tunnel. There will be some good times. There'll be a laugh, and when someone dies, and you just think there's never going to be another conversation. We're never going to laugh again. And had they not done that, what if they'd managed to hold on, it would have been better than it is now, at least for me.
Yeah. Has that made you look at your friendship groups in a different light through the loss of those? Does that enable you to check in more with your closest?
You'd think it would, wouldn't you? You'd think it.
No,
you think
but
it would.
just
It does to a degree. It does to a degree, and there's definitely been times where I've consciously kind of said, what, I've not checked in with this person in a while. How they're doing? I've got close friends of mine who've became parents since I became a parent, and I kind of, maybe a year later or something, and I'm kind of wanting a message saying, I know this is a difficult time. How you doing? But they're a bit like me, and they'll reply back with, "Oh yeah, man, it's tough. Chat about it when I next see you," kind of thing, And it's
it never happens.
No, and I need, I guess I'm going to need to push a little bit more on that.
Have you ever struggled with your own mental health? I know you speak about self-esteem.
Yeah, there've been times where it's been worse than others, and I think I think in those times it's really difficult. I think that, yeah, there's definitely been times. I think everyone's had kind of passive suicidal thoughts before.
Agreed.
And I think maybe in the height of something really bad happening, or a horrible argument or situation or breakup or something like that, people have maybe had slightly more active ones, where you think, but you wake up the next day and that feeling's not there. But I've definitely had a couple of times in my life where I've kind of felt that I don't know how to describe it, some kind of thinking about suicide, even when it's kind of 9 a.m. on the way to work, kind of thing, not in the middle of an argument, not drunk, just having this, and it's a pretty kind of lonely, scary feeling in those moments. But I'm not in that place right now.
No. Thank you for sharing that. I think this is why we do the Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine and Tim's aim is to normalize these conversations.
Yeah.
Is to say to other guys that we're not alone here. We do experience these thoughts. They may be, for some, just a fleeting thought. For others, it may be temporary. For others, still, it feels like it's a bit more permanent. And some of the guests that we've had on here have said that they actually believe that they will eventually die by suicide. And that's difficult.
Yeah, it's horrible.
But you mentioned about that depth of relationships that women have as opposed to guys, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still in a situation whereby, as of last year or 2023, 7,055 people in the UK died by suicide. 74% of them were men.
Yeah, that's terrifying numbers. I mean, the ratio of men and women is terrifying, but just the number in general, it's just
it's scary. It is. It is devastating, and I think I am seeing loads of new male initiatives popping up, etc., and that's a good thing. But we're still like 2 generations behind in terms of where we need to be.
Yeah.
When you were at your lowest, did you ever reach out to anybody? Did you ever put your hand up and say, help?
I reached out to professionals at one point, and they were very helpful. It was through a charity, actually. And in terms of reaching out to kind of friends and family, I kind of tentatively did to a couple of male friends, actually. And I suppose in some ways that's maybe a little bit telling as well, that you would, we say that men don't like to talk about these things, but in those moments, I'd certainly rather, I don't know if this is a good thing, but I'd certainly rather talk to one of my friends about it than talk to a parent or a sibling, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's something about, or even a professional, I think there's something about that little bit of distance between you
I understand that.
And in your entire life, that makes it a little bit more comfortable, I think. I'm constantly worrying about everything, and I kind of think if I spoke to my family and said, I'm having these really, really difficult times where I'm feeling this or I'm thinking this, I'd then start worrying that my family were worrying about me, and then I'd start worrying worrying that my family were talking about me, and I feel like maybe those two things would cause me stress as well. But that's probably a really unhealthy thought to have, and probably one that I should try and, find a way to not have.
Okay. You used the word tentatively when you were struggling. You reached out to your male friend and that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what was your fear by tentatively reaching out?
I think it was probably that I would either be a burden, or
Brilliant.
that I would, if I was incredibly explicit about it, I would be dumping a situation on them that they had no ability to deal with at all. And I know if we go back a few years, I remember getting out a relationship I was in ending, and speaking to very, very, very upset. Couldn't really control my emotions. I was crying, and I spoke to, a friend of mine, and said, oh, really, this is what's happened. I'm devastated. And, he was just kind of like, oh, man, that's shit. And didn't have any kind of anything to say to me. But it was still comforting, even though he wasn't there to solve the problem, but he was doing what he could. And I think maybe if I hadn't been quite so attentive, and if I'd just come out and said, I'm really struggling, I'm feeling this, I'm suicidal, whatever it was, I think however they would have responded probably would have been helpful. They're not gonna have years of, training as a therapist suddenly pulled out of their back pocket, but they're gonna say something. They're gonna listen. I think if I'd given more, I would have got more back.
Okay, it's interesting. One of the words you used was burden, and a lot of people who feel suicidal, one of the things that comes up time and again is, I don't wish to offload how I'm feeling because I don't wish to burden, whether it be a friend, a family member, a sibling, whomever, my partner.
Yeah.
And for me, as a therapist, I love hearing that word, because I'll challenge you day in, day out, that you're not a burden, that it's not burdensome to express how you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's just taking the time to get used to that, I think you just worry that it's going to be.
I hear that. Can I ask, Tim just put in the chat there, did saying it help you to your friend? Did you feel anything different, although he wasn't so responsive?
Yeah, I did. You at the very least feel like you're not quite as alone in it anymore.
Brilliant.
And I think, everyone knows that feeling lonely doesn't feel good.
No.
So whatever you're feeling in that moment, if you can reduce a little bit of loneliness, if you can reduce a little bit of sadness, if you can reduce a little bit of the anger, if you can do anything to take these down, I think that's got to help. And that was certainly something that I felt straight away, because I think I can imagine, and I could be completely wrong on this, you probably know a lot more about it than me, I would imagine that most people who take their own life, there's probably a massive amount of them that haven't said to someone, I'm suicidal. Haven't said to a friend or family member.
I'll share with you this. 3/4 of suicides were not known to mental health services in that corresponding year. So say, for example, 3/4 of 7,055 had not been to their GP or tapped into mental health services, or put their hands up or said, help.
I mean, it seems so obvious when you think about it like that. It seems so obvious to say, but it seems insane, doesn't it? It seems when you've got your head kind of screwed on and you're not feeling kind of extreme emotions, it seems so obvious to say, well, hold on. If you're thinking about killing yourself, if you're thinking about ending everything, not living anymore, putting your family and friends through a huge amount of grief, if that's what's next on the possibilities for you, if you think that might happen, could you try something that might stop it? It might not, but could you try something that might stop it, like speak to a friend, or call Samaritans or something like that? And it's kind of insane that 3/4 of people might not do that, might not just make a phone call on the off chance that they could. I guess just in that extreme moment, it's
spot on.
They've left it too late.
I think you used the word burden, and I think majority of those 3/4 who hadn't reached out didn't want others to feel burdened by their own distresses and pains.
Yeah.
And that's a sad indictment on our society.
I'm just looking at that figure there in the chat. That increased, has it, Tim?
Yeah, I think Tim's extrapolated that 3/4 of 7,055 is 5,291. Wow. Yeah.
They could have made a call,
Could have made a call. Could have said help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think I don't think I'm coming to an epiphany that nobody's thought of before. But I think, maybe if they had more experience at talking in general and having talked to people about their problems at other points in their life, maybe they would have been more likely to make that call. Hopefully, anyway.
I think for me, I've loved talking to you, Phil, today. I've loved your openness.
Have I been the funniest comedian you've had on?
That's funny. No, that's funny.
So if you want to catch me live, guys, I'll be at the stand on the.
Superb.
It got deep in it. I had an anecdote written down here. Not found time for it. Never mind.
Okay, quickly then. Because this must have been a bit of an uncomfortableness for you at the start. There was another question I was going to ask you before that as well, before that. But what drew you into comedy to stand up? What made you think that you were good at it?
Well, that is one fantastic thing about comedy, actually. Consider, a lot of people think as I said early on, that a lot of comedians have low self-esteem, and so many people struggle with that concept. You stand up on a stage, tell jokes, make people laugh. Not only are people giving you loads of kind of laughs and positive feedback, but also you must feel pretty confident in your abilities to go and do that anyway. And it's a yes and a no, because it's one, we're doing it, to a certain degree, we're doing it because we need that affirmation. We need
absolutely.
Yeah. And also when it doesn't go well, or we take it pretty hard, you know, even if it does go well, but not as well as you hoped it was going to. That joke didn't land. You know, I'll think about that for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I think I said, look, I grew up in quite a kind of creative, quite a kind of arty family. And I think before I tried stand-up comedy, I did always kind of have this idea that I was going to write films or write a novel or something like that. And I think that fear of spending a year of my life writing a novel, sending it off to publishers, getting rejected, you know, was just, I couldn't deal with it. Whereas with stand-up, you know, you write 5 minutes, you go up on stage, you instantly get feedback from a room of people, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether you need to change part of it. And it's just, for me, that it's the only art form I feel comfortable with, because it's like ripping off a bandage. Do you know what I mean? Rather than taking it off really slowly. It can be horrible when you're up there, but 10, 15, 20 minutes later, it's done, and you can take something from it. And yeah, for me, it was a nice way to get that kind of evidence-based confidence, you know, not just, oh, I don't feel very good about myself, but, you know, maybe I'm good at certain things. Maybe I'm quite good at my job. Maybe I'm a funny person. No, I definitely am, because some strangers have just paid money and laughed. And, you know, if I felt more confident in other parts of my life, maybe I wouldn't need that. But it's a nice thing to do, you know. I do it for these guys. It's not. I'm not saying I'm just doing it for me.
Is it addictive?
Yeah, it is. It's really addictive, and it's not just an ego stroking thing. It's a really nice way to kind of get creative and get critical and voice some of your ideas about certain things out to a group. It is. I mean, you will have had comics on here say this before, or you heard them say it on stage. A lot of comics say, "Oh, I do this because I can't afford therapy." You know, there is a certain part of that, and I maybe don't do it enough compared to a lot of comics, but because I'm fairly scripted up there. I don't kind of go too far off what I plan to say. And I'm not massively anecdotal, but the few times that I do it, if I am ever a little bit more vulnerable, or I'm very clearly talking about something that actually happened, you really connect with the audience. And if I say something off the cuff about my life that I'm not even expecting to get a laugh, and that gets a reaction, that's really nice. I wish I had the confidence to go up there and just talk about my life. Like, you know, when you see people in the films and things that kind of get pushed onto stage unprepared, and they just start talking about their day, and I'm like, I've never done that. Mine are I work backwards from the punchline to make my stories, but I've got a little bit of in there, and I think becoming a parent, I'm probably going to start having a bit more about my own life on stage, and we'll see how that goes.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm digressing a little, curveball. If your agent said, I've got a gig for you in the States, would you go?
Where? In the States?
In the United States, yes. In America, would you go?
Yeah, I mean, I do whatever I could to
Saudi.
To happen, yeah. Or Saudi. Yeah, sorry, how much are they paying? I mean, I support Newcastle United, so I can't turn my nose up at Saudi money too much. Although I wasn't massively keen on the takeover, but it has had its benefits. Yeah, Saudi, I don't know. America, yeah. Why did you ask?
Because I saw a little reel of Stuart Lee. And he was talking about, given the current climate in America, I mean, he was basically calling, Trump a fascist and that, which I agree he is, but that's my politics. But he said that he couldn't go there because for fear of him being grilled, etc., about his content, about yada yada, and his material and that. And I don't know whether or not geopolitical climate affects, or to what extent does geopolitical climate affect comics' ability to travel and perform abroad?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I love Stuart Lee, and if I heard the clip, maybe I'd agree with him. But I don't think there would be a risk to it as a UK comic. I think maybe if you were from other parts of the world that don't have quite as good a relationship with America, and you went over and started speaking your mind, I would worry about that, because that it's not looking great over there at the moment, is it? And yeah, I would be interested to watch some clips from from that Riyadh Comedy Festival, to be honest, because they've all kind of said, no, we can say what we want, we can do what we want. Yeah, but I mean that's not true, and I know it's not true. I know the kind of thing that you can be arrested for at the very least in Saudi Arabia, if not more. Yeah, I don't know. My first ever stand-up gig was in Thailand. It was in Bangkok.
Okay.
And they have they're reasonably quietly liberal, a lot of the people over there, but they have the law les majestes, which is you don't say anything bad about the royal family. Like,
no, you don't
say anything bad about the royal family over there, and that's an absolute no-go. And I don't think that if I had made a joke on stage, I would have got arrested. I think it's mainly used as a law to stop people who are maybe involved in politics or the leader of political organizations and things like that. I don't think it's necessarily enforced all the time, but it's not certainly something you wouldn't want to risk. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's many places in the world that I wouldn't gig if the money was right.
North Korea.
Yeah, I'd probably give that one a miss.
Tell me why. I'm only buzzing.
Yeah, I just create a set where they're having a go at South Korea the whole time. It's never going to get broadcast anywhere. Yeah.
How have you found it being on the Hurt Locker?
Yeah, it's been great. I'm glad we've managed to kind of make it a little bit lighter at the end, because it got deep there for a little while, didn't it? Which I guess if it was just light and frothy and surface level all the time, it wouldn't really serve the purpose of the podcast. So
absolutely,
yeah. Well done for getting that out of me.
You're welcome. I think I know the answer to this. Yeah, Tim just wrote, "You've been worth the wait. Really enjoyed this one."
Oh, good.
Thumbs up. If you don't mind sharing your son's name.
It's Heath.
Heath. Okay. After?
Partially Hampstead Heath. My partner was living in North London at the time.
Okay. I thought you were going to say that's where he was consummated or something like that. A bit like Brooklyn.
No. I always use protection on Hampstead Heath. Yeah. Also, my partner's a massive Heath Ledger fan, so I'm sure that had a part to play in it as well. Yeah.
That's where I was going myself. That's where I was thinking myself. Okay, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Who's the most important person in your life? And you can only pick one person.
Well, I know what your going to say back to me because
Okay.
I listen to the podcast. But I will.
Fair play.
But I will give you the answer that
Come on.
that I would have given had I not listened to the podcast, which would be Heath. Yeah, it would be my son. 100%.
Okay. But knowing what my response would be, how much could you embrace the fact that you're the most important person in your life?
I think that makes total sense, and I think it goes back to you know what you asked earlier on about what I'd kind of learned or found challenging about parenting, and I said something along the lines of, not only am I raising him, but I'm kind of raising myself. You know, I'm fixing the things that are wrong with me, and if I don't do that, I can't care for him in the right way.
Absolutely. The lights go out. We switch off from the Hurt Locker. Okay. Have you had your tea tonight?
No, but I had quite a big lunch, and I've got a gig in a bit, so I'll probably wait till I get home.
Okay. So there's a knock at the door, and it's 9-year-old Phil. You open the door, and it's 9-year-old Phil looking back at you.
That's a hell of a Halloween costume. I don't know when this goes out. It's Halloween tomorrow.
Come on. And all seriousness.
Yeah.
What do you say to him?
I'd say be more aware of what you're feeling. So know if you're scared, know if you're worried, know if you're anxious, and deal with that. Don't hide that. And I'd also say be more sensible, but also take risks. So kind of be sensible with things like money and not drinking too much and things like that. But take risks, you know, say what you're thinking. Get up on stage if you want to do comedy, or if you want to sing a song or whatever it is, or start a business. Because I think anyone with a little bit of insecurity it doesn't just hold them back in their mind. It holds back a lot of their actions as well, and holds back a lot of the things that they say.
Absolutely. Phil Henderson, you've been a superb guest on the Hurt Locker.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
No, it's been a blast.
Appreciate it.
I
tell you what, we do this every week. That saved me a lot of money on therapy, wouldn't it? We're doing it. It's 6 o'clock every Thursday, yeah?
6 o'clock every Thursday, yes, indeed.
Right. Perfect.
Thank you. And that's a wrap.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Remember, you are not alone. If you or someone you care about is struggling with their mental health, please see the contact information in this episode's description for further support.